Hey everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I am here with a whole bunch of speed reviews. These are all products I've been trying this month, and I mentioned last month that this month was going to be a doozy, and it is. I have so many things to talk about, and that's kind of why I feel like I look kind of crazy. I tried on as many of these products as I could for this one video, so hopefully those try-ons will be helpful. I'll insert those where I can. And since I have so many things to talk about, we had better get started. Let's start with this liquid blush from Tarte. So this is the Blush and Glow. I have the shade Buff. Now they do have these in different finishes. Even though this is the Blush and Glow, I don't think it's ridiculously glowy. It doesn't have too much mica in it, and it actually has quite a bit of pigment. I found the safest way to apply it is I like to put it in the palm of my hand and then use a stipple brush like this one to really work it into the brush and then apply it like that. It does have a bit more of a dewy appearance, but I found it to wear really well. For me, it did not melt off the skin. It really did set down, and I am a fan of neutral blushes. Even though I have that try-on video for you, I will quick give you a little swatch. So you can tell, especially they're fresh on my hand, it does have a little bit of a glow, but when you work it into your skin, especially with a brush, I feel like a lot of that glow is reduced. It has a doe foot like this. I feel like if you just go and apply it, you will get quite a bit amount of product. So again, I would apply it to my hand first or a palette first, and then use a brush or your fingers. Now let's talk about this one from Bobbi Brown. So this is the Pout Rouge in the shade Powder Pink. Now, I've always wanted to try one of these. I've always heard that they're kind of the gold standard for cream blushes because they've been out for so long and they have such great colors. But I've also heard that this from Honest Beauty is a dupe of this. So that's actually one of the things I was testing this month. Are they actually dupes for each other? Especially this shade, which is Rose Pink from Honest Beauty. Now, when you swatch them next to each other, this is the Bobbi Brown. This is Rose Pink from Honest Beauty. You can tell that the shades are slightly different. They are not exact dupes. However, when I put them on, they looked almost exactly the same. And I really am very careful about saying things like that because I'm definitely one who has been disappointed in dupes before, where I will get something, people say it's a dupe, and then it's really not a dupe later when I get the other product it's supposed to be duping. So let me tell you, these are not exactly the same, but on my face, when I tried one on one side, this on the other, they looked very similar. And I was very impressed at how long this wore. But so does this one. They both wore beautifully. They apply very similarly. Now I got this one from Bobbi Brown 50% off during Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, which actually made it slightly cheaper than the one from Honest Beauty. These ones from Honest Beauty are normally $20, and this was on sale for $18. But normally, you know, it's twice that much. But I'm very happy to say that these are extremely similar to each other. So if you have this one from Honest Beauty, you don't need this one, specifically this shade Powder Pink. And if you're a fan of the formula of one or the other, know that the other formula is very similar. I have another blush here from MAC. So I actually had a few colors of these to test, and I did not get to all them, but I did get to this one. It's a beautiful fall color. This is the shade Burnt Pepper in their classic matte powder blush. I'm not always a matte blush girly, but I've kind of been using them a bit more often, especially if I'm using a lot more glowy products. It's nice to have something that isn't glowy. So this one has a lot of pigment. It's nice and smooth. And on me, if I'm not careful, this can give me quite the intense sunburned look. So I just use just a little bit. I'll even tap my brush off to make sure I have just a tiny bit, and then it looks great. It's just a really good roasty toasty shade, which are some of my very favorite shades ever. I'm really happy with the addition of this to my collection. Oh, before I move on to the next thing, I wanted to say, even though it is a matte blush, it's not powdery looking on the skin, which I really appreciate. Let's talk about this powder from Covergirl. So this is the Clean Fresh pressed powder. I have the shade Fair here. So in my little demo video, I did it on one side with a brush so you could see the difference from one side to the other. It does provide some mattifying, a little bit of blurring, but I find, I've tried it with a brush, I've tried it with a powder puff. I find it's not as mattifying as my favorite one from number 7, which I'm thinking that if you have really dry skin, this might be something right up your alley. I found it actually wore off pretty quickly. Like, I was surprised when I looked in the mirror not too much later, and I felt like I needed to apply powder again, which is not usual for me at all. I feel like once I apply powder, I don't need any more. So right now, I still think I prefer my one from number 7, even my Kaleidos powder, my pressed powder I prefer, but I still think that this is a decent powder. I think that, you know, depending on your skin type, this might be exactly what you're looking for, just because it's not too intense. It is a true matte powder, which is nice. It is not glowy in any way. I still haven't decided if I'm gonna hold on to it or not, because I can definitely see situations where I will want something to mattify just a little bit. but not something completely matte. So I can see where this would fit into my collection. Let's talk about these brow products from Billion Dollar Beauty. So they did send these to me for review. Thank you so very much. So I am wearing the Tinted Brow Gel in the shade Taupe Through My Eyebrows today. I think it looks okay, but I really don't like how big the little wand is. I feel like that is way too big for me, and it makes it a little bit messy, especially since the formula is a bit wet. Also, I think the shade is a little bit light and a little bit warm. My brows are actually a little bit darker than my hair, than my head hair color. So because of that, I think I'm gonna give this to someone with a little bit lighter brow hair. Now, the clear one works just fine. It has a slightly smaller little applicator, so it's easier to control, and it didn't leave those weird white flecks throughout my brows like some clear brow gels can, and I found it to have pretty decent hold. I still prefer the one from Benefit because I like the applicator on that one better, but I will use this one no problem. Let's talk bronzers real quick. I have several different bronzers on my face. So the bronzer that is right here, that is the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer in the shade number 2. I think Silky Matte is the perfect name for this because while it is matte, it applies so smoothly, very, very beautifully. And this particular shade, shade number 2, is a little bit cooler than other bronzers. Not super pink, super cool, just a bit on the cool side in comparison to warmer bronzers. So that is nice. When I applied it, I only dipped my brush in one time, and I like the amount of pigment that I got. Someone left a comment that they found this to be very pigmented. So I would stick to a fluffy brush to try and control the amount of product you get with this one. But since I'm going to be comparing a whole bunch of bronzers, let's start some bronzer swatching here. So here we have Milani Silky Matte in shade number 2. There, I add a little bit more. So that is what that looks like. Now over on this side, I have this one from Nabla. This is the Skin Bronzing in the shade Ambra. Now in comparison to the one from Milani, this one is a bit warmer and a bit more glowy. But what I like about it is it doesn't look super glowy, does it? It just looks a little bit like skin, but I feel like in a swatch, you can tell that it's definitely glowy and warmer than the one from Milani. This is the Milani Silky Matte. This is Nabla, so you can see the glow and a little bit more warmth. I tend to like both of them. I found both very easy to wear. You'll have to let me know if you can really see a difference. Now I'm wearing 2 different face palettes on each side of my face. I feel like I'm looking crazy. So let's talk about these. I have 2 of these from Smashbox. So this is the Halo Sculpt and Glow palette. Now the one that's on this side of my face is called Coral Saturation. Here we have swatches of those shades. So now this one was given to me by a friend, and my friend that gave this to me does have deeper skin than me. I shouldn't say deeper skin. She has more tan skin than me. And I think she found this to be a little frustrating because the bronzer is so light. It shows up just fine in a swatch, but when you apply the bronzer, it is quite, I don't want to say sheer. It's not sheer, just lightly pigmented. So on me, it looks good, I think, but on her, she had a hard time making it show up. This blush is very light indeed. And I do have that one through here. I have this blush on the apple of my cheeks here. And then this highlighter is actually one from Becca, one of the old formulas. That's Prosecco Pop. And on me, it is quite gold. I'm sure you can see that in the try-on video. It looks super gold when I first apply it. Out of all of these products, the highlighter is definitely the most pigmented. When applying the blush, they actually do surprise me because when you start, you think it's going to be very sheer, but then all of a sudden you have a very bright cheek like I accomplished on both sides. Now on this side, I have the Back to Cali palette, which I need to be careful because just now when I was doing my demos, the highlighter fell out and busted. I was so disappointed. I'm going to be very, very careful with it. So this highlighter here, they call it C-Pop. I'm pretty sure it's Champagne Pop. You get your swatches. So here we have swatches of Back to Cali. We have the bronzer, the 2 blushes, and Champagne Pop, which I'm sure if you have had makeup for a number of years, a lot of you have owned this particular highlighter. I actually never have, so I'm happy to have it. I think it's quite pretty. So I applied the bronzer. This shade is up here by my temples. This shade I have on the apple of my cheek, and then of course the highlighter on top. You can tell I definitely was able to get a lot of pigment. I tend to really like these. These palettes are really meant where all the shades go together, and I think that you can really tell, like it creates a very pretty layered look. I just tend to really like the pigmentation levels on these. To me, they're exactly right. That is, of course, me. As always, I'm always very interested to hear from you guys. If you've tried those, what did you think of the pigmentation level? When I looked at the reviews of those, it was wildly different. Some people felt like they had nothing and other people thought they were just right. I tend to be in the just right camp, but the most pigmented item in both palettes is definitely the highlighters. Let's quick talk about the eyeshadow I'm wearing. So this is a little eyeshadow duo from What's Up Beauty. I recently checked on their website and these are still available. I thought maybe they were just kind of samples, but no, you can buy these. This is the Plumour eyeshadow duo. I've been very impressed. I thought the matte blended out beautifully and the shimmer is very, very wet looking and pretty. And this is definitely my kind of color story. I love to wear purples like this. Doesn't necessarily go with the rest of my makeup, not so much, but you know, that's okay. We're just playing here. Let's talk about one more eyeshadow palette and we can talk about lip products because I have a lot of lip products to talk about. This month, I tried my very first Lisa Eldridge palette. I was very, very excited to try some of the interesting formulas that she puts in her palette. So this palette is called the Fawn palette. It's meant to be a classic everyday eye sculpting palette. And the most interesting thing about it is definitely the textures. I mean, this is very much a basic everyday palette, which I'm always 100% ready to stand behind. This shade here is in her Velvet formula, which very much feels like a cream to powder. It's very smoothing on the eyelid, very interesting as a powder eyeshadow, and it works really well as a base for other eyeshadows as well. This shade works great to kind of sculpt out the eye. I did think it was very interesting she chose to put two dark browns in this palette, although they are very different from each other. This one here is kind of sooty, whereas this one is in the luster formula, which means it has a little bit of sparkle to it. Something I noticed with both of those is that they have enough creaminess to them that you could easily do, I don't even know what you would call it. It's that kind of model look where it looks like the model has been wearing it, where it looks just kind of messy, but on purpose, that kind of smudgy, sooty look. I have never been able to pull that off myself, but on others, I think it looks so good. So just like the creamy eyelid. Let me quick swatch those two. So this is kind of the more sooty one, the one without any sparkle, and this is the one in the luster formula. So imagine that in that kind of eye look. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about because they're both so creamy. They melt into the eye so beautifully that this would be the perfect eyeshadows to create that type of lived in, on purpose, creamy eyeshadow look. So far, I have used both of those as liners and they were very pretty. Liners. So this one I'm a little let down by. Like, it specifically does say it's a satin, so it's meant to be kind of a barely there twinkle. It translates as kind of a pinky gold on the eye. I'll try to give you a swatch, but this is really hard to see. Pretty, yes. Exciting, no. I really would have preferred a different shade there. This one is much prettier, I think. This is in the luminous formula, kind of that beautiful, bright twinkle shade that when tapped over your lid creates that beautiful kind of wet look without being too much because the twinkles are so small. I honestly, even though I like that shade, I would have preferred it to be more on the champagne side versus so icy, just to kind of go with more of the browns in this palette. Not like it clashes, but that's personally what I would have preferred, I think. So even though to me this isn't perfect, it's still something I can easily use every day. The combination of these three shades, simple, all over the eye, a little bit in the crease, and that as an eyeliner, and it creates a really, really pretty creamy look. I'm very intrigued by her eyeshadow formula, so I'm happy I tried this. I think I might, well, I can't decide. I'm tempted to buy some of her shadows in singles and then use this to create my perfect little palette of her formulas. If you have a favorite shade from her, let me know down in the comments for sure. Okay, let's talk about all these lip products. So starting with this one from Nude Sticks, this is the Gel Color Lip and Cheek Balm in the shade Posh. Now, I have tried these before. I really enjoy them. I think that they're beautiful and creamy on the cheeks and on the lips. This particular shade though, Posh, I'm not sure that I like it on the lips. It can translate as the tiniest bit icy if I put it on full opacity. If I just put on a little bit, it just looks kind of dewy and pretty and kind of like a nice little pink color, but just something to keep in mind for myself personally. I don't want to wear too much of it on my lips. Maybe it would just depend on the look that I would wear with it, but I just noticed that every time I tried it, it just to me looked a little icy, a little frosty, which is not my favorite in a lip product. I found I much preferred it on my cheeks. Okay, look at this product from Nabla. Isn't it pretty? Doesn't it kind of look like a fancier version of Revlon lipsticks? This is the Beyond Jelly Sheer Lipstick, and I got mine in the shade Luz. So I'm actually wearing this over a lip liner, so you can see a little bit of the finish. It is a very pretty, shiny lipstick. Although I'm a little bit let down because I thought I was buying, when I see jelly, I think of something that is very translucent. And I think that this is actually more creamy looking than translucent. It is sheer, yes, but not as sheer as I would like. That being said, I still really like it. It's a very wearable color. It'll go with a lot of lip liners. It's very comfortable. It has kind of a sweet scent, but nothing too off-putting. And I think the bullet is just beautiful. So these were 50% off during Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. I would absolutely get another shade. They're very wearable. I just wish it was a little bit more jelly-like. Next up, we have a similar product from Fenty. So this is one of the Gloss Bomb sticks. This is the shade Spice Cold. So while we have here another balmy lipstick, this one is a little bit more pigmented, but still very easy to wear. Very comfortable. One thing to note about these from Fenty is they have the same scent as the original Gloss Bomb. So that's either a plus or a negative, depending on your feelings about that scent. These have a little bit of a heft to them. They're not super thin on the lips, but I think it's beautiful. And the packaging is super pretty as well. Next, we have a clear gloss. This one is from Physicians Formula. This is the Diamond Gloss. So be careful if you're looking for this. They have something that is very similar, but it's the Diamond Plumper. So this is not the plumper, just the plain clear gloss. It's very pleasant. It has kind of a nourishing feel to it, a little bit more on the thicker side. It's a true gloss, not a lip oil, and it has a nice shine to it. I'm trying to determine if it has a scent. It's very slight if it does, which is, in my opinion, in its favor. It's nice. More people can use it if it doesn't have a strong scent. And this hasn't bothered my lips any. I will sometimes get very random tingly feelings from lip glosses that aren't supposed to be plumping. This one seems to be sensitive lip friendly, but it is just a clear gloss. It's nothing that wild and crazy and exciting. Let's talk about this one from Ole Henriksen. So this is the Pout Preserve Peptide Lip Treatment in the shade Cocoa Cream. So this has the same applicator as the Summer Fridays one that I really enjoy, where the applicator is kind of a little squishy. It's got a little bit of a give to it, and it makes it that much more pleasant to apply. It feels much more luxurious than just like a hard plastic applicator. So it's very nice that way. I personally did not notice that much of a difference between this one and the Summer Fridays one. I know that some people are really choosing camps, it seems like, with these types of products, but there's so many of these out. I mean, there's only so many different things that you can do, right? I think it's a very pretty color, very easy to wear. Again, sensitive lip friendly. I will happily use it. I think it's pretty. Now we come to a lip liner. So I am wearing this lip liner with this product from Nabla over it. So this is from Christian Audet. This is the waterproof gel lip liner in the shade Nude Sandals. So while this is a sharpenable pencil, the formula is very creamy. Creamy enough where it kind of reminds me of the ColourPop, but it's very different than the ColourPop. This wears really long time. When you put it on, I can actually feel the tack a little bit, like it's really sticking to my lips. If I'm just wearing this and I kind of press my lips together, it actually does feel a little bit sticky, which took me aback a little bit. But now I'm kind of a fan, because man, does this wear a long time, and it's such a pretty shade. This was gifted to me from a subscriber, so thank you so much. This is a shade I'm gonna wear a lot, and I really enjoy the formula. All right, 2 more products left. So let's talk about the mascara that I've been trying this month. So this is the Maybelline Firework Mascara. So I think that today is the best I have ever seen it look. So that tells me that this is one of those mascaras that gets better the longer that it's open. When you first open it, it is really wet. And that is something I've noticed with Maybelline mascaras, incredibly wet, which can make them so messy, at least for me. I tend to be quite messy with my mascara. So a wet mascara like this can kind of stress me out a little bit. But today I feel like it's finally starting to thicken up a little bit, and that makes it easier to wear. So you can tell it's very lengthening. It adds some drama. But this is one I find where I can't sit there and fiddle with my lashes for a long time. It coats my lashes in too much product and they end up clumping together. So this is one of those where I try to do a good job in just a few swipes and then stand back and let it be, which is hard for me. I tend to be someone who sits there and fiddles with my mascara and really tries to coat every lash. But I have found that's what you need to do with this one. I always give updates on mascaras after they've been open for 6 months. I put them in my empties bin. So this will be one I'll be very interested to see if it dries out after a few months and becomes epic. Okay, one last product, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. So I really like the sprayer on this. It has the most beautiful, even sprayer, no splattering the face with this. Also, one thing I really like about this is that once it dries, it's dries. A lot of the products that I have tried are more dewy looking. They make your makeup very dewy. And while I did feel it added a little bit of dewiness here, and I just went back and added a little bit more powder, I feel like it's not necessarily a dewy spray, which I appreciated. I felt like I could feel it. setting my makeup. So I do think this is a true setting spray, which there seems to be kind of this interesting crossover between sprays that just kind of melt your makeup and make your makeup look nice versus a actual setting spray. And this is labeled correctly. I can feel that my makeup is locked in. One thing to note, it is very, very scented. So if you're sensitive to scents, beware. Holy man, I got through all the products I wanted to talk about today. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, you are a rock star. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really, really appreciate you. Here at the end of the video is where I always talk about my tea of the day. It's later in the day when I'm filming this, so I'm drinking an herbal tea for once. This is from Tazo. This is the Refresh tea, which is their mint tea. It's actually a mint of both spearmint and peppermint. It has actually been ages since I drank mint tea, and this is very good. When I drink mint, I like it to be very strong and quite sharp. And so I just kind of leave the tea bag in there, and it's very good. It's just very, very refreshing. Perfect for a hot day, which crazily enough, here at the end of September, we're having the most beautiful weather. I hope you are too. All right, I better stop babbling. Thank you again so much for hanging out with me. I will see you, there's a hair on my lip. I will see you again very soon in the next one. Okay, bye.